Hi, and welcome to the ISTE Library Professional Learning Networks. We are getting ready to host our webinar over our award winners for this year, our PLN Awards. ISTELib gives out 2 awards. Hey, there's Linda. ISTELib gives out 2 awards every year. We give out a primary and a secondary award, and this year we had several really great applications for each award. We had a lot of discussion of some amazing things, some amazing librarians, and some amazing work that's happening in school libraries across the country. We are excited today to introduce you to our 2 award winners. But before we do that, our professional development team is all here for the webinar. So I'm gonna let them introduce themselves. Let's start with Jen. You want to kick us off, Jen? Introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I am Jennifer Casatodd. I'm a teacher librarian from Aurora, Ontario, Canada, and I am excited to be part of the ISTE team and to welcome these amazing folks to the webinar tonight.
And Linda?
Hopefully you can hear me.
Yep.
I'm from St. Louis, but right now I'm in Alexandria, Virginia, babysitting grandchildren, retired librarian, and running around presenting all over the place since I retired. Who knew I had so much time when I retired? So I enjoyed being here with everybody this afternoon.
Excellent. And I'm Nancy Jo Lambert. I am a teacher librarian at Reedy High School in Frisco, Texas. And contrary to popular opinion, we do not all wear cowboy hats and ride horses. So we are super excited to have those of you that are joining us live, and then those of you that are going to be watching later joining us as well. So first, I'm going to introduce you to our 2 award winners. So we have James Allen, who hails from the Eminence Independent Schools in Eminence, Kentucky, and then we have Tiffany Whitehead from, Tiffany, what is your school?
Episcopal School of Baton Rouge.
Episcopal School of Baton Rouge as well. So James Allen is our primary award winner, and Tiffany Whitehead is our secondary award winner. And so we're just going to kind of ask them some questions and let them talk about themselves. So first I'm going to have them introduce yourselves. So James and Tiffany, you guys are going to introduce yourselves, and you're going to tell us a little bit about where you librarian.
Tiffany should go first, probably.
I can. I'll go first. So hi, everyone. I am Tiffany Whitehead. I am the library director at Episcopal School of Baton Rouge, and I serve as the 6th through 12th grade librarian. So we are a pre-K 3 through 12th grade school, and I work with the middle and the high school students. And I'm at an independent school, so this is my 3rd year here. I was previously in public schools for 9 years in the library, and so I'm in a really great place. I have a really great program here, lots of great support and collaboration with teachers. We get to do lots of really cool things, project-based learning and some inquiry work. The library is a very busy space. In fact, I've had to come and hide in my tech director's office so I could find a quiet space, and I keep hearing voices in the library, which makes me anxious because there's also AP testing going on in our conference room. So always a busy space, and we do everything we can to accommodate those that we work with. And so yeah, I'm really excited and honored to represent secondary librarians with this award. And I love ISTE. I've been involved with ISTE for many years, and so that makes this award even more special for me.
That was good. Do you want me to go now?
Yeah, go ahead and go.
All right. Like Nancy just said, my name is James Allen. I also am a teacher librarian at an independent school, but in Kentucky, independent doesn't necessarily mean private. So it's kind of people get confused. We're a public school. We're just independent of the larger district around us, I guess, like geographically. So we're kind of a tiny city school. We are also a pre-K through 12 school, and we have 2 school librarians, myself and Jen Gilbert, but we don't really divide up the grade levels. We kind of just do a little bit of everything. It's a little bit more organic. I've not been involved with ISTE that much. I've been to the conference. I presented last year, but that is about as much involvement as I've had so far. I want to do more. I'm a past president of the Kentucky Association of School Librarians, and I kind of help occasionally moderate KYL chat, our Kentucky teacher librarian chat, on the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays of the month, which often run into the Texas chats every week or every other week. And I think that's all. Like Tiffany said, I'm really honored for the award. I appreciate it. It's really nice.
I was going to say, just you wait, James Allen. We have plans for you in ISTE next year. Nancy Jo, is this where you jump in with questions?
Yeah, sorry, I was looking at the chat.
Like, it's super quiet and awkward.
Sorry. Okay. All right. So I think, first of all, I think what people probably want to know about you guys is, do you want to talk a little bit about your library spaces, maybe the things that you guys have done in your library spaces to make them appealing or purposeful to your students? And we'll let ladies go first and hear from Tiffany first.
All right. So I wish I could pull the camera out of here and take you guys around on a little tour. Although if I walked out the door, so I'm currently in my tech director's office, which is upstairs in the library. And if I walked out, you would see the upstairs area, which is where our nonfiction is located. And I am almost finishing up with a massive weeding project that has been eating my lunch for 3 years. So I've been weeding since I got here, basically, and I am nearly done with the first round. But the way that our library is laid out, so we are a 2-story building, a separate building. We have lots of different buildings around our campus. It's a very beautiful southern-looking campus, and so when you walk in downstairs, we have the monstrosity of a circulation desk right front and center, which I have covered with chalk paint. And so we put different inspirational quotes and things. And then every time someone comes into the library and leans on the desk to talk to us, they walk away with their pants covered in chalk. So that's a special gift that we like to leave our visitors with every day. But downstairs, we have our fiction collection. So we have all of our fiction books genreified, which was the first thing that I did when I came in, because I had such great success with that in my previous school. So the kids absolutely love that. We have all of our books mixed. We serve 6th through 12th grade, which makes that a little challenging at times, but it's definitely very accessible for all of our students. Downstairs, we have lots of different spaces. We have tables where students can work collaboratively. We have couches where you can often find people asleep or chatting and hanging out, depending on the time of the day. We have a bank of computers downstairs and printers. I will say that in our school, our middle school students are one-to-one school-issued iPads, and our upper school students are bring-your-own-device laptops. So lots of technology. Also downstairs, we have a little conference room where students can meet or teachers can meet, or this time of year, AP small group testing can take place, which is not my favorite. But as far as being in an independent school, I can't complain too much about testing time. And then my office is downstairs, which is no longer my office. It's basically become the makerspace workroom. So we have our 3D printer in there, a podcasting station, our Silhouette, all of the different tools and resources that students can come and access and use. And I have many students who think that that is their office instead of my office, and I'm totally okay with that because I need to be out and working with the students and talking. And then upstairs we have our nonfiction collection, which I am weeding through, almost finished with. And then we also have 2 computer labs. So one that has Adobe Suite. So when our art department is working on projects, they can come in and use that. So a really large space. It's myself and my assistant who is full-time. And the library is open every day for students from 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. So we're the first place open and the last place closed. So very busy space throughout the day. Not as cool as James's space, though. I wish.
Oh, wow. All right. I am going to show pictures because I feel like it's way prettier than looking at me sitting here in my home office with my tuba in the background.
And I'll see if I can find some pictures.
Share screen. I think it was this one. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right. So this is kind of, we're in our 3rd year being in this new space that actually kind of built an addition onto our 100-year-old plus K-12 building. So it's definitely still feels new. So this is when you walk in the new front office over here. Sorry about the picture. It's kind of like a 360 thing and it's disappearing. Don't disappear. There we go. So there's the front office when you first come in the school. So this part of the library is where you would normally have like your tables and chairs and things where people kind of sit and hang out. But we have all these, lots of flexible seating. All these things kind of move around. There's a big kind of presentation area, big giant display. And then it's kind of hard to see now that it's zoomed in, but we have these labs that are part of the library too, and they're pretty flexible. Like they each have, every 2 labs has a wall in between them that can be collapsed. So it's a super flexible space. There's 2 classrooms right here, which are still kind of part of the library, and then a 3rd one where all 3 of those rooms can be opened up too. So my favorite part about the space is how flexible it is. We can change what we're doing in like 2 seconds, and it's awesome. There is a slide. It's right there in the corner. It's pretty fun. I went down twice today. I was going to go through some of these pictures. Our book area is behind those labs, and like Tiffany was saying, it's kind of hard because it's K-12, so it is definitely a smaller, tighter collection. In our YA, we kind of keep up on the higher shelves, and then just kind of goes down there by level. But we do have some fiction genreified, especially for the elementary through middle school. And then there's some more pictures. We have RFID in our books, and we have a self-checkout kiosk. This was an old picture, so it's not this pretty and nice and new still, but there's a senior maker lab where we have kind of our technology, higher end type making supplies. We have 2 laser cutters, vinyl cutter, 3D printers, those kinds of things. With some hydroponics available, a giant Lego wall right beside our slide. There you can kind of see the book section all at once. There's the outside of the school, the Lego wall. I really like this part. This is the entryway to our elementary wing. So you kind of go through this. It feels like you're in line for Space Mountain kind of, and there's music playing in the ceiling and these lava tiles on the floor. You can see your footprints as you walk on it. So that's pretty fun. I was going to see what other pictures I have down here. We have a green screen studio. There's our robotics lab. We have little bits and lots of robots and those kinds of things. I do like this. Our space has individual Google calendars for our teachers to sign up for these spaces, and they can either do it right on the wall right here, or they can just go on Google Calendar and choose that room to see if it's available. All right. Stop sharing screen.
Tiff, did you want to pull up any? You said you had some.
I don't have any decent pictures, I now realize. I need to get the library clean, and I need to do like a tour video, because all I'm finding are mostly pictures from when I first got here, which is not how it looks anymore. I'm realizing I'm a slacker. I need to do a virtual tour now. Put it on my to-do list.
All right. So I think now, I think would be a good time for both of you to kind of talk about like some of the things. I mean, the three of us all read your applications for the award. So maybe just talk about some of the things that you put in your application that you feel like really distinguish your library or your library programming or whatever that other people might benefit from knowing about.
So for me, we talked a lot in our application about the collaborative work that I'm able to do. And what I love best about being a librarian is that I'm here not only to support my students, but my teachers as well. And so as soon as I got here, like I said, this is my third year here, I knew I needed to find out how, what were the initiatives here and how could I make myself fit best. And so I found out very quickly that our middle school, they were kind of working their way into project-based learning, but the teachers weren't feeling super comfortable, and they hadn't really made great strides yet, although they were trying. And so I've done everything I can to support them in that. And so each of the grade levels with middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th, they have a big kind of themed project that they work on across all of the content areas. And so for the 6th grade, they do a literacy unit. And so this year, they expanded it. So the first year I worked with the 6th grade English teacher, and we co-taught an entire unit on literacy, and the students did research on different types of literacy and understanding why it's important, kind of answering the big question of how can we support literacy in our community, and what does that mean? Are we talking about our school community? Are we talking about the larger Baton Rouge area community? And so this year it's expanded. And so they took kind of the concept of book deserts and tied that in science, and they grew succulents and had a succulent sale to raise money for different literacy efforts in our area. We had lots of local speakers come in from an adult literacy center. We have a program in Baton Rouge called Line for Line, where there's a barber shop and students get their haircut as they're reading to the barber. So that's something really cool. And we gathered some books for that. But projects like that, where I can be that person where my teachers say, hey, we need someone to spearhead this, or I need someone to curate resources and I don't know where to start. That's so much of what I do and what I love. I mean, whether it's getting an email from a teacher that's saying, hey, I'm about to start this project. I know my kids are going to need to get on our library databases. Do you want to come and do a little refresher with them? I do that a ton, and I absolutely love it. And then building those relationships with my students so that they know they can come to me and feel supported and feel comfortable and welcome to come and sit down, and I can answer those questions for them on whatever topic that they're doing research on. We do a lot of that. I'm really excited next year. I'm taking on the title and the task of launch director. And so launch is a huge initiative that we do in our upper school. And it's basically been kind of like a TEDx event in the past. We're going to kind of reimagine and play around and see how that we can grow it and build it. But basically, it's an upper school student showcase. It's a completely student-led day where mostly our thesis students, which we have a extensive thesis program for our juniors and seniors, and they kind of showcase their projects. But we're going to pull in more of our art students and, you know, see where we can go with that. So I'm kind of that catch-all person where you know, I'm able to make those connections and bridge those gaps, not only with our students, but with our teachers as well.
Awesome. James?
I'm just thinking about a few things. Sorry. I know in my application I talked about some collaboration efforts with teachers, and I was thinking about what Tiffany was saying. I think I'm super lucky because our school there's so many things built into what we do that I don't want to say it's like forced collaboration with us, but it's like it sets everything up really easy, like nicely. Like I should probably talk about our schedule. Maybe that kind of will help. I think it's definitely kind of a hybrid schedule. I've been in 2 elementary schools other than this one, and I was flexibly scheduled the whole time. So I don't really know what it's like to be in a related arts class for a librarian. I was a music teacher first, so I know what that was like. But in this school, since it's K-12, we have a Genius Hour class it's kind of an elective for high school that Jen teaches and I help out with occasionally. And then we have kids that are going to a college here in Louisville to take college level classes. And I guess I'm kind of their, supervisor when they're not at school. So every other day they're with us. We kind of do some things in there. And then in the afternoon, Jen teaches a kindergarten, 1st or 2nd grade class in the related art schedule. And then we both teach a 3rd, 4th, or 5th grade class in the afternoon. So what's nice is that we're not doing that all day. So that last period of the day in our 6th period kind of block that's the only time where we're both, tied down to a class teaching every single day. So otherwise there's one of us available, and that part is nice. We have something called exemplars, there's 8 of them. A lot of schools are kind of doing things kind of similar to that, where it's kind of above and beyond the regular curriculum. Don't make me recite them all. It's like, perseverance, innovation, collaboration. So all of those exemplars kind of have requirements that require working with either me or Jen. So like having that built in for the teachers, and they can kind of see it on paper, like what the kids need to be doing. We spend a lot of time introducing them to tools and resources and research skills so that they can use those in their regular classrooms. And just that alone, I think, would be enough. But then we also have, like, Jen's Genius Hour class helps a lot. Those kids become experts on the tools and they teach other kids. We have a passion project week every year where kids choose a project that teachers have submitted. So they get a choice between, like, 25, 35 things that they can spend. Basically, we kind of shut down school for the week, and for 4 days, we focus on just that one thing. It's usually smaller groups, 10 to 15 kids. And there's a presentation of learning night. But I would say half of those projects also use things that Jen and I can help out with. And it's also nice because we have an assistant principal who is a former shop teacher. So like she helps with that kind of our tool lab. And then we also have a technology director that helps also. So I wouldn't like to say, it's not just me, but it's a bunch of people in our space that are kind of making it work.
Excellent. So I know both of you, you're in my professional circle, people that I, rely on for expertise. And so I'm going to ask you both to kind of speak to something that I know each of you is kind of passionate about. So Tiffany, I know that you are super passionate about news literacy, and you've done a lot on your campus and with your staff and your students in regards to news literacy. So do you want to talk about that piece for a minute?
Sure. And I love this topic because it's so complex, and I definitely don't claim to have any answers because I still haven't figured out the right way to do it. I don't know that there is one, but I think for us as librarians, just being aware and starting the conversation is so important. And one way that I've kind of inserted myself in and had the conversation of news literacy, and also talking about social media with my students. So we have a set time each week called College Block. And it's basically where our 9th, 10th, and 11th grade students are doing like ACT, SAT prep, because we are a college prep school, and that's definitely a big focus for our parents and for our families. But for our seniors who have already taken those tests, and we have designated that time once a week to really give them some life skills and to have conversations and use that time. Like one of the teachers taught them how to change a tire on their car. But for me, I've had a couple of those time slots, and I've been able to work with small groups of seniors. And the first time we had conversations around social media, and I called it, basically don't be an idiot online is what I said. And we talked about how your online presence can actually be beneficial to you. And so the students found that really interesting and engaging. But the second time around, we talked about news literacy, and we talked about how do you find your news and how do you find news that you can trust. And I polled my students, and I got some really interesting results back. I asked them where they find their news, and my students, I will say, they're coming from well-educated families. Their parents are really pushing them. They're going to college, and they're going to pursue that for many years to come. And so they're definitely getting that support at home, but they still, as supported as they are at home and at school, they're still overwhelmed by the news and feel like they are not equipped to find news and decide if something is trustworthy. And I asked them straight up, where are you getting your news? And most of them said things like Snapchat or memes on Twitter or Instagram. And so we talked about how do you fact check? And there are some really great resources out there for that I introduced to them. And also, how do you make sure that you're getting balanced news? And so that was another thing that we talked about, and using sources like allsides.com, where you can go and see sources on a specific news topic that are leaning in different directions, and just having that conversation with them that there is no answer, but you have to constantly question and research and have that skill set to really discern information and look at it critically. And the only way that we can do that is lots and lots of practice.
Awesome. I know I've learned a lot from you just in general about news literacy and bias and all those things. So I appreciate that. All right, James. So I know you just presented at the Texas Library Association annual conference, because I was there. And I know that you and Heidi Neltner presented, and then you've presented as well on some of the different digital tools that you use with helping students create their own worlds, and how you tie that to the curriculum with like storytelling and writing. So do you want to talk about some of that you do with your students?
Sure. I am kind of lucky. I get to work with 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade every day, and a lot of what I do is kind of just getting their feet wet with different tools, so that when they go to use them with their regular content area teachers, that they're not spending a lot of time learning those tools. They kind of already know how they work, and they can really apply it to any content area. A lot of what I do is really letting them just kind of play around and get some of that silly stuff out of the way that I know would take up the teacher's valuable time in their other classes. So a lot of times when they're with me, it's just a little bit less stressful. They don't have that like a giant assignment hanging over their head, but they get to learn the tools that they could use instead of just creating. I don't want to say just, instead of creating a poster or a diorama, we use Bloxels quite a bit, which is a way to create video games in a super easy format that the kids can catch on to really quickly. They can spend most of their time on the creative part and less on the I guess, coding side if you're going to do it traditionally. We also use CoSpaces quite a bit, which is a tool for creating virtual reality worlds. And you can present those in virtual reality, like with goggles, or you can even present it with augmented reality, where it just kind of just looks like it shows up on the table or the room. And like the kids really get excited about that. And I love CoSpaces because it's so open-ended. You can, I mean, I could use it first grade through 12th grade easily, just because of how robust the features are. Everything you pull into your world, whether it's characters or animals or just shapes, you can program those using Blockly-like code. So the kids basically kind of become directors of a virtual movie. They have there's a little camera that kind of shows what your viewers are going to see. And they can program that camera to move around. They can program their characters to talk. It's super powerful. And then you apply that to things they're already learning. They can do some really creative stuff. We also do some things with Tinkercad in terms of our making capabilities. They use that for the 3D printers we have and the CNC that we have. And then something just as simple as Google Drawings, I spend some time on, not just teaching Google Drawings, but kind of teaching them like basic, boring ed tech type stuff, like how you copy and paste things, how you can organize your files so that you can get to them in a timely manner, kind of a little bit more, even like research things, like just traditional library stuff, but using Google Drawings as the platform. And then they can kind of take that and then transfer those creations to our laser cutter, where we can actually cut things out of physical materials. So I feel like I'm leaving something out. I'm really all about CoSpaces right now. It just can do so much. We don't have the merge cube add-on, but you can get that added on. And then I don't know if you'll have seen it. It's just a little cube with a bunch of symbols on it. It looks like QR code kind of thing. You can present your worlds on that cube and have a different kind of theme on every side of it. It's pretty sweet.
You do stuff with Minecraft too, right?
We do. Yeah, I forgot about that. Was what I was leaving out. We have Minecraft also, a subscription. So the kids are using their Microsoft email accounts to log on. I should talk about our technology a little bit too. K1 has class sets of iPads. So we do a little bit different things with them in terms of programs and whatnot. And then 2nd through 5th grade have Chromebooks, which works well for the Google Drawing stuff I was talking about, and then the CoSpaces. And then 6th through 12th grade have a MacBook. So they kind of have like a little bit step up in terms of capability. We do a lot of iMovie work, but then they can also run Minecraft on that platform too. We also have a kind of a cart of MacBooks so that we can do that with elementary school also. Yeah, the new Minecraft education is crazy. The amount of features it has too, especially with the coding part.
I think, didn't they also say that Minecraft is now available just online? It's only the first version though, because I know some school boards are having issues with their filters and whatnot with Minecraft. Did you guys hear about that?
If it's online, I don't know about it, but
yeah, I think that was just a recent thing. I'll have to find it and share it to the ISTELib hashtag if I'm correct. I think I'm correct.
The education version is nice because they've kind of streamlined. It used to be before Microsoft bought the Minecraft thing, it was a kind of a standalone thing separate from regular Minecraft. But the new one, it kind of looks like what the kids are used to on their Xbox and their iPads and their PCs. It's kind of all the same version now. So I like that part.
Thank you. Well, I have a question. So listening to you both, I'm excited about new ideas, but I also see myself in your library. I think everyone watching can probably do the same. But we're leaders as teacher librarians. What is advice that you would give to our people watching either live or after the fact in terms of asserting ourselves as leaders in your school community? Do you want to just start with you? I'm putting you on the spot here. What do you think, James?
Well, again, I live in like this utopia land of school libraries. I feel like, I mean, it's like perfect for me. It's definitely not traditional. So not a large part, like the majority of that is from my administrators, my superintendent, Dr. Barry. I mean, our library was kind of like his vision of what it could be. So I'm lucky enough that I'm just kind of there and facilitating that. It's not like it was like the entire program was my idea, but I just feel like it makes a huge difference when your school district leaders are encouraging the use of the library out loud. Like not just kind of, sort of, but like you have to do it. This is what it looks like. This is what you're going to do. Like that's the expectation. It's not really a confrontational thing. It's just, this is how it is. And the kid, like we get to spend most of our day just providing experiences they wouldn't get somewhere else outside of school, especially. And then advice wise, I was really scared to share things I was doing when I first started out. I kind of wish I had started sooner. Sorry. But, maybe it's different for everyone. I just felt kind of like, I guess, a little scared that I was doing the wrong thing or it wouldn't be worth sharing or whatever. But I kind of got over that once I got to a school where someone encouraged me to do that. And then this is the second school I've been in where other states are different. I know we have site-based councils. So each school has their own kind of like, I don't want to say mini board of education, but kind of, it's like a little mini school board where there's a parent representative, multiple parent representatives and teacher representatives. But being on that council really lets you know what's going on in your school. So it's not like the council has to go to the librarian to ask. I'm there in the meetings and influencing somewhat those decisions, the directions we're going. I would say that's whatever that looks like in your school. I mean, it might be a committee, it might be, I don't know what I'm sure it's different everywhere, but I would suggest that for sure. And then just also helping out with the different teams that are in your school. Like you don't necessarily have to be on every committee, but just offering your services.
Thank you so much, James. How about you, Tiffany?
So I've been in a number of different schools and worked with quite a few administrators in my years as a librarian. And I would say the biggest thing, first of all, is to listen. You need to get a feel for your school and for the culture and your administration and know what they are about. And then find ways to take your goals and your mission as a librarian and for your library and figure out how to kind of shape those things so that they align. Because I found that no matter what, if you're able to spin your goal in a way that looks good or sounds good to your administrator, you're a lot more likely to get buy-in and kind of get the support that you need. So I would maybe like subversively, figuring out how to make your goals and your ambitions for your library work for your school so that you can have that support, because without administrator support, you can't get anything done. And so that's really a big deal. And learning to speak the language, learning what your teachers are looking for and what they need, and figuring out how you can make that work in your favor as the school librarian, if that makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Well, and I know both of you have a pretty significant presence on social media professionally. So I'd like for both of you to kind of talk about that. Tiffany, I know you have an amazing blog that I've personally used several times to find inspiration and tools. And I know that James's library has an awesome Instagram account because I follow that Instagram account with my library Instagram account. So I just want both of you to kind of talk a little bit about the social media that you use and the different platforms you use and how you use them. And because I think that we assume that everybody in school libraries is using social media, but I know that Jen can speak to this and Linda can too, that they're just not everybody's using those. So I think that if you guys can talk a little bit about how you're using those and what platforms you're using to do what, I think that's something that we'd like to learn from you about.
Sure. So I have blogged for many years at mightylittlelibrarian.com. And I've posted things way back from when I was in elementary library, my middle school years, and now my current position. So that's a great archive for me personally to be able to go back and look at the things that I've done. But I've really been able to connect and share with a lot of other great librarians throughout the years, which, I mean, my blog has brought back so much to me personally, being able to connect with other people through the things that I share on there. And so I'm really appreciative of that. I am very active on Twitter as well. I am at librarian_Tiff on Twitter, and that's where I connect with my PLN. I share resources. That's definitely my professional network. My library has an Instagram account. It's at Aldrich Knights, ALDRICHKNIGHTS. I don't post quite as much there as I would like to, but that's definitely a goal of mine because I know that that's where my students are. And then I also have my personal Instagram account, which is Librarian Tiff. And I don't necessarily post all library things there, but travel, a little bit of library, lots of food because I like that. But yeah, that's where I am sharing online.
I really like the idea of blogging. I picture myself doing that, but it just has never worked out. I don't feel like Twitter gets called this as much anymore, but I feel it kind of is still micro blogging. I definitely do that part. I would say, I don't know if it was 2013, 2014-ish, I started getting involved with this greater, wider PLN that we have on Twitter. And it really kind of changed everything I was doing. We're so alone in our schools sometimes as librarians and really sometimes teachers in general. So just seeing that I was doing some of the things other people were doing and getting other ideas like that, it kind of rejuvenated my career at a time when I definitely needed it. So I kept thinking we did start myself and Heidi Neltner and Amanda Hurley, we started KYL Chat, I think around that same time. And I kept thinking it would die, but it hasn't yet. People still keep coming. I mean, sometimes it's the same 15, 20 or so people, but a lot of times it cycles other people out that are either new to Twitter or just trying it out, or I know there's people lurking. So even though it's a little painful every other week to keep doing it, we still keep doing it, and we share the archive out on our more traditional listserv. This kind of goes back to that other question, that leading thing. In my last two schools, my last school, I was in charge of the website. So when you're in charge of the website, like you kind of get to promote your library a little bit more than it might get promoted. So that's an idea. And then also I did the school's like Facebook and Twitter accounts. So I do that. I'm not the only person tweeting for Eminence, but I do try and, share what we're doing in the library and share what other teachers are doing on there quite a bit. And then more recently, I would say this school year, I've started using Instagram to just kind of capture what we have going on. That account is Eminence_EdHub, I believe. And it's just a good way to kind of motivate the kids too. They know that I play this Instagram account on our big giant screen and our projector we have shining up on the wall, so they get to see things that they've been doing. So they know, even if I just have my camera out and I don't tell them what I'm doing, they know that they might show up on that screen and kind of gets them excited. And when you have to go back and I don't really submit fancy reports, but I feel like all year long I'm sharing on Twitter and then have that Instagram account that kind of, I don't want to say proves what we're doing, but it's just it's real documentation of what's going on throughout the year. So it's kind of advocacy every day, I guess, in a way.
Absolutely. So we did have a question, Amy from the chat. She said that she's graduating this week. Congratulations, Amy. That's so exciting. And she said that her question was, what's a good goal for the first year? Or so what would be your pieces of advice, James and Tiffany, for first year librarians?
Chill out. Your first year, and I feel like this every year, at least several times in the year, I get to the point where I'm like, I'm terrible at my job. I'm a failure. I'm not doing anything. Don't let yourself get in that headspace. Your first year, anywhere, anytime you move or transition to a new school, your first year is getting to know you. So you're getting to know your space. You're getting to know your administration, your teachers, your students. You should do a lot of listening and not necessarily a ton of inserting yourself. Let your strengths be known. Let your passions be known. Find places to plug in. Find your people, because in any school you are going to gravitate to certain people. That is not a bad thing. You need to find the people who believe in the library and you connect with and can collaborate with, and start with those people. But don't be too ambitious in the sense that you're going to beat yourself up. Definitely set some goals and think about the things that you want to accomplish and what is your vision for the library. But that first year is very much a get to know you phase, and that's how it should be, in my opinion.
I think that's a good opinion. I just agree. I don't know. It's I guess if you're not naturally an extroverted type person, and that part is what's hardest for me, is just getting to know people. But you have to get to know people in order to know. It's just like you're working with your students. They're not all the same, and your teachers aren't all the same. Like you kind of get the feel for who needs what or wants what, especially when it comes to how you're working with their classes. So I'm in my 4th year at Eminence, and it still feels new to me there. I mean, some of it is that people leave, but not really most of it. It's just that you have to, I think also just following through with certain projects, teachers see that work, and then they kind of sparks ideas with them for what to do next. So even though you may not work with an entire grade level or department, or that, I mean, the teachers in the building see that stuff happening, and they, I think, kind of sparks interest for later on. Or you should get another school librarian for your school and have 2. And then that person does all the awesome outreach stuff, and then you just kind of like help out.
So I know that both of you guys had some things at the start of the school year that you kind of used to kick off your library. So do you guys want to talk about what you do to get teachers and students into the library and get teachers collaborating with you? I know James, you and Jen put together the menu at the beginning of the year, and then Tiffany, you did some bookmarks. Is that right? So can both of you kind of talk about that a little bit?
I can go first this time. Yeah, we did. I think Jen found a menu somewhere. I forget who it was originally that we stole, and then just added kind of, it's basically literally like a restaurant menu where you can
Steal, borrow. We borrow great ideas.
yeah. And it was just a good way to show teachers visually like the different things that we offer throughout the year, because it's kind of hard to just throw those at everybody all at once. But in addition to that, this is kind of our 2nd year of, this year was a little different, but we kind of have like this kind of county fair where teachers cycle through different stations in our space, and it's not all led by me or her. It's also like our administrators and our technology director and our principals. We all kind of share a different idea or theme or tool that they can use, and they cycle throughout the day through those things, and that really helps kind of get people, gives them time to play with some things. I'm really proponent for play, but it also gives them some ideas to do later on in the year.
Yeah, I totally borrowed that menu idea too, and I used that and shared that out with my faculty. And a couple of years before, I did this cool graphic of the top 10 things that your librarian can do for you. And so I shared that out as well. But this year, I made some super cute bookmarks with our library website and all of our information, and of course my Bitmoji and my assistant's Bitmoji, because we're so cute. And so I ordered a lot of those to get out to our students and teachers, just as a reminder of all of the things that we have to offer, not just our physical space, but also our digital space on our library website.
So I had to go talk to my NHS kids who are doing some work for me over there. Before we finish, because we are getting close to the end of time, end of time for this webinar. Hopefully not the end of time for the world. I think a good way to end might be to one, talk about, maybe give, if people are interested in applying for this award with us with ISTELib in the future, maybe some like insider knowledge as to what they could, how they can, what they could do with their application. And then also just any, if you were to come across these librarians, at a conference or online, what would be the one most important thing that you feel like you would want them to know about being a school librarian?
All right, so advice on applying for the award first. Everyone is doing awesome things. We are all doing really cool things in our school, and we all have the thing that we're really passionate about, and that's kind of our strength. And to you, it may not seem like that big of a deal because you've been doing it for years, or you just found the right people to work with. But that's not really true. We underestimate ourselves a lot, and we don't give ourselves enough credit for the cool things that we're doing to support our teachers and our students. So taking time to reflect and think about what you do and what you do well and what has been successful in your school and your library, it is worth sharing. And I realized that when I started blogging years ago, it's very easy to think, oh, I'm doing the same thing as everybody else and it's not worth sharing. But it is, and putting yourself out there and your project or whatever it is that you're doing in your school, it's not just about you, and it's not just about winning an award, which is really cool, but it's also about sharing and kind of inspiring other people to take what you do and do it their own way. Because I will tell you, so many of the things that I've shared throughout the years that I was like, oh, this is something I'm doing and it's pretty cool. Other people take those ideas and make them better and then tell you about them again. And so that's a way for you to improve your project and yourself. And so that's something really cool about this that I would recommend. What was the other thing? What I would tell somebody about being a librarian. We have the best job. It really is the best job in the world because we get to work with everyone. And so my advice on that is just to be a listener and to be receptive to what's going on in your building and see how you can take that and use it to push your library and connect with your students and your teachers and everyone on campus.
That sounded so prepared. Oh my gosh.
It was not. I'm glad that made sense.
The application, I'm not gonna lie, like it's kind of fuzzy. I don't remember exactly. I know I talked about some collaboration that I did. I think I'm gonna go back to the whole picture thing. Like, I know it's but in different schools there's some privacy issues, like having kids' faces and things, and how much you actually do that kind of stuff. But if I did not take pictures, like I would forget what we did. Like our days are so different, and like every day we do different things, and like little stupid things that in the moment seem silly, but later on when you like kind of pile them all together, it's like, holy cow, look at all this stuff. And I wouldn't remember that if I made a list or if I wrote it down. But having little tiny short videos and pictures really helps kind of pull that together. And no matter what you're applying for or your school is applying for or grant work or whatever it is, you've got that evidence that at least can kind of spark your memory into what you've been doing. And
well,
then
one of the things that impressed the leadership team about your application in particular was your CV. So maybe you can talk about like the importance of, especially for those that are just starting out in their school library career, to kind of make sure that they're accumulating that stuff.
Yeah, that was in the beginning. I thought I would have a blog and I would do that often, but it kind of just became my digital portfolio. So the posts became just, things that I thought were good enough to share, at least professionally like that. And then just after a while, those kind of all add up together, and it's cool being able to look back like all the way to like 2004 when I put my first thing on there. I can, you can kind of see your own growth. Some of it's kind of painful to look at, but I leave it on there. So I just hope people look at the date of the blog post. And what was that other question you said about meeting somebody?
Advice. What's the one piece of advice you'd want to pass on to other school librarians?
Oh, for sure. I meet tons of librarians that are way more knowledgeable about literature than I am. I'm not going to pretend. Like, I do my best, but I feel like there's 10 billion books published a year, and I can't keep up. Even if I was just reading reviews, I can't keep up. But they talk about, I get this question a lot, like, how do you know how to do this? How do you know this technology? How do you know that? There was no class. There are things online you can do, but you really just have to be willing to kind of jump in and play with things before you know how to use them, and not wait until you've done it by yourself. Like, you got to do it with the kids. Like, let them see you doing it the first time, or let them show you how to use something that you've not used before. Once you start doing that, you start to see how all these tools are connected and they all share kind of the same kind of themes and features. And then I feel like eventually learning new stuff like that it's just not as much of a hurdle if you just allow yourself to kind of mess around with it and not have a real serious agenda about it.
Well, we are almost at the end of the time for the webinar. So I want to thank Jennifer Costa-Todd and Linda for being here with me today and being with our award winners. Again, we want to extend a hearty congratulations to both Tiffany and James for the awesomeness that was their application, and then also the awesome things that you guys are doing in your school libraries. We will be honoring them at the ISTELib breakfast at ISTE 2019 in Philadelphia. So we're excited about that. Do you guys anybody have anything else you want to add before we end the show?
Just that we're excited to talk about ISTE and all the good things that are happening at our next webinar. So stay tuned for that.
Oh, yes. So we do have another webinar coming up next week on Thursday with Jennifer Lagarde. It's going to be a webinar about her fact versus fiction book that I'm actually in the process of reading. I kind of got stalled, but I'm gonna finish soon. So we're super excited about that webinar, and like Jen said, we have tons of stuff going on at ISTE. We have the ISTELib playground. So if you are coming to ISTE 2019 in Philadelphia, we hope that you will come by the playground. It is the most popular playground at ISTE, so it is not to be missed. Jen, you're always so much better at all the reminders than me.
And just that you could buy your tickets for the breakfast. It is an add-on, but we have Liv Van Lecce and her mom, Cynthia Merrill, who are going to be keynoting, and that is absolutely not to be missed. As well, we will be engaging in a social on the Monday night if you are in Philly, and that is going to be a cool networking opportunity for not just teacher librarians, but other ISTE PLNs as well.
And we're also going to be at the networking fair on Sunday, I believe, right? The ISTELib will be at the networking fair. Linda's nodding. Yes, that's correct. Okay, good. I'm not good at remembering all the things. All right. Well, it is now 4 o'clock Central Standard Time. So we are going to go ahead and sign off. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you so